really hard to imagine the biggest currencies in the world today, the US dollar, the British pound, etc., meeting the same fate.
Well, the purchasing power is down already 95%.
Yes.
Since the Fed started in 1913. So we're on our way to zero, to zero value. So that's why my thesis is that somewhere in the next decade, we'll need to reconnect the value of our currency to gold or silver or some other intrinsic value.
This show provides you with timely information to help manage your assets. One of your most important assets is your online data, and it is under threat. In 2022, over 13.5 million Americans fell victim to identity theft. 2022 also had the second highest number of data breaches, with at least 422 million individuals affected. Each time you sign up to a new online service, you provide personal data that hackers can steal, and having that data online limits your privacy. You can ask companies which store your data to delete it, but submitting removal requests manually can take weeks, if not months. Thankfully, there is an easier way, Incogni. Incogni automatically submits data removal requests, scrubbing your data from data brokers' lists. And it's simple to use. Just create an account, grant Incogni the right to work on your behalf, and then just relax and allow Incogni to take care of everything. So take your personal data back with Incogni. Use the code down below, David Lin, at the link and get 60% off on an annual plan. The data is yours to protect, so don't wait to protect your data online. Click on the link down below. Willem Middelkoop joins us now from the Vancouver Resource Investment Conference 2024. He is the founder of the Commodity Discovery Fund and the author of The Big Reset. We're talking about commodity investing and the Big Reset. Yeah. Willem, welcome to the show. Good to see you.
We're in the middle of the reset.
We're in the middle. I spoke to you last year.
It's a process, it's not one event.
We spoke last year. We were in the middle last year. We're still in the middle now. Well, Tell us about this process.
I think we're in the first innings. The book, like the subtitle says, is The War on Gold and the Financial Endgame.
Yes.
And that's not that we'll be, well, it's not about the collapse of the system. It's about the end of the dollar hegemony. It's about the rise of the East, and the West is going down a bit compared to the rest of the world.
That is the big reset. Let's back up. That is the big reset that you're describing? What is the big reset?
It's since the end of the Second World War, we're in this dollar system. It's all about the dollar. Trade, commodity trade worldwide was on the dollar. And now we see countries moving away from that. Saudi Arabia just joined the BRICS alliance. Saudi Arabia was the friend of the US in the petrodollar deal. Saudis have been supporting the US dollar since 1974. And now the Saudis are pivoting east. And that shows that this whole BRICS alliance, you could say there's a BRICS revolution. And what's the BRICS revolution? They are working on a parallel trading system. They're working on a parallel financial system. And one day we might see the start and the birth of a BRICS currency. And that could become a competitor for the US dollar. And then we're talking reset.
Whoa. A new BRICS currency. You talked about some of this stuff in your book. Yeah. Why a new BRICS? First of all, why does the BRICS need a new currency?
Because many countries outside the West are fed up with the current dollar system. They're fed up with the fact that a country like Belgium has more voting rights in the IMF than Brazil. Yes. So the US, combined with Europe, created a system after the Second World War, which is very beneficial for the Western countries. And now we have the rise of China and the rise of many other countries. And they want to have a larger seat at the table. And since the West isn't offering them a larger seat at the table, they're creating their own clubs, they're creating their own organizations. So instead of joining the IMF, they start to build on their new development bank, which is like a BRICS bank. Is providing finance for so many countries. And now we have 140 countries not joining the Western sanctions. So the world is changing. And these changes, that's a process which takes 10, 15, 20 years, that's the reset process.
What would a BRICS currency look like?
It's probably gold or commodity backed. Russia has pointed to that. They're studying it now. But what you could say, and Zoltan Poza, who used to be an analyst with Credit Suisse, he explained it quite well in a few of his writings. What we see is a decline of a paper-backed system, a dollar system, a fiat system. And what we'll see is the BRICS working on a commodity-backed, gold-backed system.
Yes.
And that's the most important takeaway.
Okay, you wrote about the history of gold as a monetary metal.
Yeah.
Gold has been around for thousands and thousands of years for various use cases, jewelry, industrial demand, but we're interested now about the monetary properties of gold. Do you still think that gold retains its monetary aspects as it did 2,000 years ago, 1,000 years ago, or even during the Bretton Woods?
And I can prove we're in the start of this process because we've seen over 20 central banks adding to their gold reserves in the last 18 months. Yeah. We've seen record gold buying by central banks. You have to go back to 69 to see this amount of physical buying by central banks. And why is that significant? In 1969, we experienced the implosion of the London gold pool. London gold pool was the Western central banks selling gold, keeping gold fixed at $35 per ounce. This all imploded in 68, 69, and that's why Nixon had to take the dollar off the gold standard in 71. And we're in a similar process now. So central banks are starting to flee towards physical gold again because they know there are big changes coming within the monetary system.
That's right. They've been big buyers of gold. Turkey, Eastern European countries last year, Hungary, China.
China, Russia. So there's a record amount of gold buying, even by Western central banks. Or Western central banks stopped selling and they are repatriating gold. And this all shows gold is coming back within the monetary system.
The subtitle is The War on Gold. Why is there a war on gold?
Because gold is the anti-dollar since 1971.
Yeah.
Since Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard, gold is the anti-dollar. So the usual suspects on Wall Street are trying to keep gold down. They try to keep gold beneath $2,000 per ounce. We've seen some traders of JP Morgan being sent to prison because of manipulating the precious metals market. Yeah. And even the DOJ explained that the metal desk of JP Morgan was a criminal enterprise. So gold being the anti-dollar is an enemy for the US.
Is it not the anti-any currency? I mean, any currency being a fiat system would be the anti-gold, no?
In a way, it is anti-all fiat money.
Yeah.
However, you see that countries like China and Russia have been proposing to add gold to, let's say, the SDR, the IMF currency basket. They said, let's add gold as a sixth currency to the SDR currency baskets. So our fiat money system will become more stable again, but the US is not wanting to go that route. And that's why the BRICS have decided we'll disconnect from the West in a way, and we'll start building our own system.
Willem, one of the things you wrote about in this book is the history of hyperinflation and, of course, how important that is for gold. Tell us about some recent examples of hyperinflation that we see around the world.
Well, we all know what happened in Venezuela. Yeah. We all know what happened in Iran and Zimbabwe. In this book, I have an appendix. Yeah. And the appendix is a long list of all the currencies which failed in the end. There are over 250 examples of currencies which were unbacked by gold, and they all failed in the end. There's not one example of a currency which survived for over 100 years when it wasn't backed by something.
What do you mean by fail?
They ended into hyperinflation, or they choose to have another system in the end. There's not one example of a fiat currency which survived for over 100 years. Not one example. We used to be on the gold standard, and once we entered the era of fiat money, unbacked money, they all failed in the end.
Just to clarify, do you mean they failed in the sense that they didn't retain its value because they've been inflated away?
They collapsed. They are not around anymore.
Okay.
There's this appendix,
yeah,
which goes back 250 years, and they're all mentioned here. and there are 250 currencies which are not around anymore
It's really
due
hard.
to wars or hyperinflation.
It's really hard to imagine the biggest currencies in the world today, the US dollar, the British pound, etc., meeting the same fate.
Well, the purchasing power is down already 95%
Yes.
since the Fed started in 1913. So we're on our way to zero, to zero value. So that's why my thesis is that somewhere in the next decade, we'll need to reconnect the value of our currency to gold or silver or some other intrinsic value.
What role or roles do the central banks of the world play in this global monetary reset?
Since the end of the Second World War, discussions on this topic have been ongoing in the IMF. The IMF was like the central bank of central banks, and also in Basel in the Bank for International Settlements. But now we see this deglobalization trend, so we're moving away from a situation where the IMF and the US is in control over the monetary system, and now we're in the situation that the BRICS countries have joined forces and getting stronger by the day, and working to introduce their own financial system in a few years. And that system could be competing with the Western dollar system. And because the BRICS countries are more or less in charge of all commodity trading, or a large part of commodity trading, when a country like Saudi Arabia will demand another currency to buy their oil instead of the US dollar, we could be in for a large shock.
Is there currently a currency crisis you're following today? Or a currency that you think will be going into some sort of crisis soon?
We ended a downtrend of inflation, which took us, which started around 1980 and was ongoing for over 40 years. Now we've broken out of the downtrend. Interest rates are going up. We've seen this superinflation with inflation over 10%. This clearly shows that the debasement of currencies is accelerating.
You're talking about the US?
Worldwide.
Okay.
Worldwide. Because inflation was a worldwide problem.
Yes.
So this shows that the purchasing power of money is decreasing. So in a way, we're in a fiat money crisis worldwide. And I think that's the reason why central bankers and the smart money are starting to buy gold again to hedge themselves.
In your book, what did you write about in relation to the end game, the end financial game? What does this mean for markets? Which commodities will survive this monetary reset?
Gold will benefit, and you can see that that's happening as we speak, with all the central banks adding to their gold reserves. But in the book, I ended the book with two scenarios. My hopeful scenario, my optimistic scenario, was that East and the West would keep talking and working together to move our monetary system to the next phase, to find a successor for the dollar. My negative scenario was that there would be a confrontation, that the East and the West wouldn't be able to join forces and would be working on different systems. And that's a situation in which you could end up having wars and more crises. And I'm afraid we're on that path now. And when you have wars and crises, you always see smart money fleeing towards gold.
Defense stocks.
That's
Boeing, Raytheon,
well, they go up as well. But you ask
Yeah.
for currencies and
For
commodities.
sure. Yeah, no.
And then gold is, and that also explains why gold is on the verge of a breakout in US dollars, but gold has been moving higher in all other currencies. Gold has been setting records in all other currencies, so that's a clear uptrend.
Commodity Discovery Fund, tell us your strategy.
Our strategy is simple. We invest in the 100 largest, most significant, but still undeveloped mining projects, half of them being precious metals related, the other half being battery metal and uranium related. So we take very big stakes in in new discoveries and exploration companies, the most successful exploration companies worldwide, and our exit strategy is wait for a buyout by a major looking for reserves.
Okay. Without going into specific detail if you don't want, but what kind of indicators would you look for to tell you maybe this company is open for a buyout or is ready for a buyout?
It's all about the quality of the discovery. So once you see a very strong discovery, confirmed by the truth machine, by drill results, and you see a very strong uptrend in the share price, you see majors entering on the share register, you can expect a buyout of a company like that within 2 to 5 years. On average, we've had 6 buyouts every year, and this clearly shows that the majors who are producing the metals are always looking and on the hunt for successful exploration companies being successful with new discoveries.
Do you think 2024 is the right environment for more M&A?
Yeah, because we entered a new era in which we'll see increasing shortages and production deficits for many metals. So we've seen a huge run in uranium because of production deficits. We expect another run for lithium. Lithium is bottoming out now after a huge rise some years ago and then an 80% decline. Copper is getting into production deficits. Now a huge copper mine in Panama needed to close down. So the shortages and production deficits in metals will increase every year, and that will deliver a bull market for commodities.
Fantastic. Willem, thank you very much for your time. Everybody should check out this book. We'll put a link to this book.
It's for free. You can download it for free at our website.
What is your website?
It's the Commodity Discovery Fund, cdfund.com.
Okay. And where else can we follow you? You have a Twitter?
Yeah, I'm very active on Twitter.
Yes,
so,
we know, yeah.
Google my name, you'll find me.
We'll put the links.
And I started a Patreon account.
Oh, you did?
Because I was fed up giving all the information away for free on Twitter. So the best information, and especially the information regarding the reset, I post on my Patreon account.
Okay, all right. We'll put the links down below. Thank you very much, Willem.
Okay, my pleasure.
And thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.